A Port Authority worker who was listed as missing has now turned up. She was on vacation far away from the madness and the terror and was wrongly identified among the missing. So tonight, only one person remains missing. Nevertheless, the financial heart of New York City is damaged and closed. Tens of thousands of workers are wondering tonight how they're going to conduct business tomorrow and where they're going to report for to work. Repairs that started today are expected to take at least a week before the World Trade Center is safe once again. And as police patrol the area tonight, detectives and the FBI are analyzing dozens of phone calls claiming responsibility for Friday's blast. Senior correspondent John Johnson is live at the World Trade Center with the latest.
Here at the World Trade Center are being hampered in their investigation as to who planted this bomb and why, because there's structural damage at the bomb site. Structural damage at Ground Zero, where 5 were killed and a 6th is presumed dead. The speculation had become a grim fact for Mayor David Dinkins by the time he met with city, state, and federal officials today. The meeting at the police department's command and control center about the bomb. The gigantic crater created by the explosion, which ripped up and down from a public parking garage in the B2 second-level sub-basement of the World Trade Center on Friday, was done by a malicious bomb.
It's clear that the device was placed somewhere that it could do maximum damage. Now, whether that was a product of planning or luck, I don't know.
Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly admitted there had been more calls claiming responsibility for the bombing at the World Trade Center, as many as 40. But one call is reportedly tantalizing for investigators. That, a call which police received 1 hour after the Friday noontime explosion. That caller wanted to make sure authorities understood the blast was no accident, and this even before any media or official speculation about a bomb. Not only that, the call seems to confirm what Eyewitness News first reported from a source on Friday, that the bombing was in some way related to the bloody civil war in the former Yugoslavia and potential American involvement there.
This call came in well after, an hour after the explosion, and said the incident was an accident and somehow related to the Bosnian Serbian situation. But we're looking at all of the calls and analyzing them in depth.
Mayor Dinkins, in the meantime, was calling for more aid from the White House if the bomb was indeed the work of terrorists.
If this is terrorism, obviously it's a national problem, and I anticipate that we'll get all the national help that we need.
While city officials are not labeling it a terrorist alert, tonight some Gulf War precautions will go into effect.
We've talked to the security directors of major corporations in the city. We talked to them yesterday. We'll be talking to them again with the mayor tomorrow. We've asked them to revisit some of the security measures that they put in place in response to Desert Storm, Desert Shield.
Despite the danger near the bomb crater tonight, the FBI, detectives, and police are still gathering samples, trying to analyze the makeup of these explosives, what they might be, and they might be just plain old dynamite. Any kind of clue like that may lead investigators to conclude whether indeed this was a terrorist bomb or not. In the meantime, Celeste Ford is standing by. She has information as to whether you will be able to come to work here tomorrow at the World Trade Center. Celeste?
Well, John, it does not take an in-depth investigation to know this disaster is hurting businesses at the World Trade Center. Perhaps you've heard of the biggest tenants, Shearson Lehman, Dean Witter, and the Japanese banks, Daiichi and Fuji. They are among roughly 350 businesses scrambling to find office space tonight, and many are turning to their landlord, the Port Authority, for help. All day and into the night, businesses big and small return to the World Trade Center to retrieve vital documents and equipment.
They gave us a half hour, and the three of us just took as many of the really important, documents and other records as we could.
Jacqueline Bernstein fears what this will mean for her executive search firm.
It means loss of contact while there are hundreds of other agencies working while I'm not.
How much time will you need?
On the center's underground concourse, the Port Authority set up its so-called buddy system. Tenants call round the clock asking their landlord for information, alternative space, and access to their offices.
It's a monumental job, but we're here all day and all night.
The giant brokerage house, Dean Witter, must relocate several thousand employees. Building 5 has reopened, but employees in buildings 2 and 4 will move to other offices. The law firm Brown & Wood will need space for 500 employees. 3 attorneys spent the afternoon on the 57th floor of One World Trade Center gathering legal documents. They have power and phone service, but they cannot return until the water and building services are restored. Where will employees report tomorrow?
We've had a series of very generous offers, and we're trying to determine which ones we can use and how we can use them.
From other law firms?
Right.
Clients?
Clients, too.
The city made 4 World Trade Center a priority. It houses the 5 commodity exchanges, and Monday morning, those floors will reopen. Otherwise, world prices for everything from precious metals to coffee beans would have been disrupted.
Commodities exchanges are hiring additional fire wardens and creating an ad hoc emergency system that the fire commissioner feels comfortable ensures the safety of all of the members of the exchanges.
World Trade Center number 7 will also be open. The Vista Hotel is closed indefinitely due to structural problems, and most stores on the concourse, along with hundreds of businesses, will be closed at least a week.
It's really almost impossible to figure out what the impact is and how to make up for it.
50,000 people work at the World Trade Center, and throughout the day, we've heard radio commercials with companies telling their employees what to do about tomorrow. Some businesses have reportedly taken out newspaper ads, while most are relying on phone chains calling each of the employees. Imagine the chaos tomorrow might bring. And we're live in Lower Manhattan. I'm Celeste Ford, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
At the same time, Governor Mario Cuomo says tonight that he is going to ask for federal aid for businesses wiped out or damaged by Friday's bombing. If the Small Business Administration approves, businesses could apply for guaranteed loans of up to $500,000. Sarah?
As we've been telling you, if you work in Lower Manhattan, you may need to give yourself some extra time getting there tomorrow. A little update tonight. It has just been announced that pass service to the World Trade Center will be operational by 6 a.m., and that's good news. If you come by subway, though, service on the C line runs between 143rd and Canal Streets only. The E line will go to the World Trade Center. Subway lines 1 and 9 are suspended from Chambers Street to the South Ferry, but shuttle buses will be available. And the N and R lines bypass Cortlandt Street. If you're driving into the city, some streets south of Canal and west of Greenwich Streets are closed. And West Street south of Chambers is closed in both directions. The FDR Drive and the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel are now open, but expected to be slow going. As for ferry service, the Staten Island running a normal schedule. The Hoboken ferry will run every 5 minutes during rush hour, and the Port Liberty ferry is adding service in the morning and evening rush hours between Jersey City and Pier 11. And we also have some phone numbers tonight that may be of help to you. Hotlines set up to provide the latest information on transit and businesses in the World Trade Center. The number for the Hoboken Ferry is 1-800-GO-FERRY. And a hotline set up by the Port Authority is area code 212-962-4026. Now that number is for commercial tenants of the World Trade Center who want to know what offices are open. That number, though, is expected to be operational during business hours only. Harry?
The damaged areas of the World Trade Center are still unstable tonight, still in danger of collapse. It's a very delicate situation for repair and search crews. Tappy Phillips was there today.
There were no rescue workers in the gaping hole under the World Trade Center today. It was too dangerous. The floors of the underground parking garage are hanging precariously and have to be shored up before anyone can go in.
Basically what's involved here is penetrating the floor, actually cutting through the floors next to the columns that were damaged and needling steel down and reinforcing those columns at this point before the crime scene investigation can get in there and start doing what they need to do.
Emergency medical workers stood by in case the one person still missing in the blast was found. The parking garage where the blast occurred is next to the Vista Hotel, and today hotel employees removed the luggage of guests who abandoned their rooms. They have no idea when the hotel will reopen.
We can't really say until a full assessment of the possible damage has been made, and only then we can have an idea. Just for the time being, it's quite obvious that the hotel remains shut down for the moment.
There was no structural damage done to the World Trade Towers, but all the support systems were destroyed in the blast.
There is an extraordinarily high amount of damage done.
And all those support systems must be repaired before the towers can be reoccupied.
We have been working feverishly for the last, I guess it's 48 hours now, trying to restore vital systems. Communication systems are essential, fire smoke detection systems, ventilation systems, even the steam systems.
The PATH station is still closed and will be until vibration studies are complete.
Before we run in the tunnel closer to the blast site, we want to do vibration testing. We hope to complete that today.
It will be at least a week before the World Trade Towers are open again for business, and probably even longer, according to the Port Authority. But the repercussions of this attack on New York and the country will undoubtedly reverberate for much longer. In Lower Manhattan, Tappy Phillips, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
As terrible as it was, Friday's explosion could have left a lot more dead and injured. But New York was quick with a response that quite possibly saved many lives. Tonight, David Navarro looks at what happened in the first critical minutes after the blast.
Tonight, city officials are patting themselves on their backs for how they responded to one of the biggest challenges the Office of Emergency Management has ever faced.
I'm very pleased with the city's response.
It was a mobilization like no other. Firefighters, police officers, EMS workers all coming together for one Herculean effort. At the height of the incident, the fire department had 150 units at the scene and more than 750 firefighters. Meanwhile, EMS responded by coordinating the use of 118 ambulances, some from the city, some private companies, some from out of the state. At 12:18, a blast rocks the World Trade Center complex. Almost 2 minutes later, the fire department was on the scene. At 1 o'clock, the fire department declared it a 5-alarm incident, and the Office of Emergency Management mobilizes its multi-department task force at One Police Plaza. By this point, all 10 of the city's emergency service units were notified.
We went into the high-rise rescue plan, which is to send a unit to Floyd Bennett Field so that we can equip and man a helicopter.
Tim Farrell was part of the first team to reach the Twin Towers by helicopter. Hovering 50 feet above Tower Number 2, he rappelled onto the roof and paved the way for the rescue effort from above. Meanwhile, firefighters were marching up from the ground floor, many carrying up to 70 pounds of equipment. Mike Dugan was part of a team searching elevators as high as the 44th floor. Inside one, he found 10 people semi-conscious.
They were out of it. I mean, they were on their last legs, so to speak. I mean, it was a firefighter's, what we call a firefighter's nightmare.
It is still too early to truly analyze how the city responded. Information is still coming in. But the lessons learned from this experience are sure to make up a new chapter in just how the city will respond to major disasters in the future. Reporting from One Police Plaza, David Navarro, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
And joining us now to talk more about the disaster is security expert Steve Davis of the Fairfax Group. Steve, everybody seems to be speculating about who is actually responsible for this. Is it possible that the international intelligence community actually does know who is responsible, but they're not releasing the name for fear that they're going to be playing into the hands of the terrorists?
Well, you know, terrorists engage in this activity for the express purpose of getting attention and publicity to their specific cause. And sometimes by identifying them or giving them credit early on in the investigation, while the world attention is focused right here, might be unnecessarily giving them an upper hand.
But if we knew who was behind it, or they knew who was behind it, wouldn't they have announced that beforehand?
You would think that traditionally they don't only announce it to federal authorities or state authorities, but they usually reach out to one of the wire services or somewhere where they'll get widespread recognition and acknowledgement.
And that's not
that hasn't happened yet, as far as we know.
Another question, we hear a lot about the term signature and identifying mechanism for a particular device. Will we be able to tell if that is true in this case, and is there always a signature?
Well, just like in profiling serial crimes, investigators often look for a modus operandi, something that is unique to a certain group or person based on past experience. It's called signature in bomb investigations, and they'll look for some trace of evidence, maybe a piece of the bomb or the detonator or a pattern that they may have seen before and they can attribute to a particular group, but it's not an exact projection.
As a security expert, when people are going back to work tomorrow, what little hints can you give every single person who may be going back to work or just going about their daily chores tomorrow to look out for things, telltale things that they may not notice under normal circumstances?
Just as been suggested by the authorities, they should just be aware of what's going on around. If they see something that looks unusual, they might want to bring that to the attention of a security personnel or a police officer. Cars parked in an area, unusual area for a long protected period of time, or packages that they think are suspicious. They shouldn't try to investigate it themselves, nor should they be overly concerned with, you know, unnecessarily worrying about normal things that you see every day. But anything unusual, they should try to bring it to the attention of the security personnel or professional.
Just kind of be on your toes, just kind of know what's going on.
Just be more aware, and I think that's going to happen naturally after a thing like this.
But not get paranoid, that's a problem.
Right. You have to avoid, as the governor said, you have to avoid the not getting back to normalcy.
Okay, Steve Davis, we thank you very much for joining us tonight. You know, there are many tales of survival tonight, and they are not only being told around this area, but they're really being told around the world as well. At this international newsstand, you can see how the blast had made headlines in other newspapers in other countries. For survivors, those images and their memories of what happened have to be dealt with on an emotional level. Bertha Coombs has more on survival and healing.
Prayer helped Ray Echevarria survive Friday. The maintenance supervisor was pinned in a basement-level locker room of the World Trade Center following the bomb explosion for more than an hour before rescuers reached him. But what troubles him now more than his wounds are co-workers that did not survive.
I just feel terrible that I'm starting to hear some of the people that were very dear to me that are not around anymore. You know, my work people, my workmates, and just about everybody that I heard. I know those people personally.
Echevarria is getting help from social workers at St. Vincent's Hospital. His wife believes what will help the whole family heal emotionally is faith.
We are, you know, a religious family, and we have tremendous faith. And I think that also, you know, as we were driving down to the city, we all kept praying. We hope that he's fine. We hope that he's fine. You know, the kids, myself. And thank God, you know, when we walked in, well, first we got scared when we saw the room. When we saw the trauma unit, my daughter lost it. She said, "Ma, Daddy's seriously hurt." And then my sister ran out. She said, "He'll be all right."
So for you, faith is going to be very important?
Faith is extremely important. Yes, definitely. Faith is, I think, what delivered my husband to us.
2 of the victims killed in the blast Friday were Nassau County residents. Mental health officials there are offering Nassau County survivors counseling sessions to try to cope with some of the emotional after effects of the World Trade Center explosion.
Anyone who certainly was any place near this particular incident will certainly have some anxiety, some tension, some depression, some preoccupation with what happened.
Mental health advocates say not everyone will need to talk to a professional, but if you were caught in the Twin Towers last Friday, you should talk to someone about it, even if it's just a friend, so you can come to terms with the experience. In Lower Manhattan, I'm Bertha Coombs, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.